Yeah, I can't believe that we're just about to kick this thing off again, another year of Texas basketball, and I think that this team in particular is going to be a work in progress. I think that's been, slash a question mark from everybody is what will we look like, and then on the flip side of that, as the coach, when we talk amongst our staff and we talk about the potential of this team, it's very, very exciting. I think that everyone right now wants to maybe spend a little bit too much time talking about our injuries, but what I'm the most excited about is that we have some versatility that we haven't had in the past, and we have some competition at spots, in particular at the guard position, that we definitely did not have last year. And I think that it's going to bode for us continuing to get better throughout the year. I think that we won't have, for lack of better words, players getting maybe stale, tired, unmotivated, anything like that, because I think the competition level as we move along will get better and better. It's been good in practice, but I think as our young players get a little bit of experience under their belt, and when I say young players, I'm actually including Chassie Patterson and Destiny Littleton in that. I mean, they might as well be freshmen this year due to their lack of playing time last year, but their improvement has been remarkable. So I would have to put them in the mix as young players, but also in the mix of players that are vying for playing time. So I'm looking forward to our schedule in a sense of, I think that we get to go on the road early. We get to go to North Texas pretty early and play against Coach Mitchell, who was a former assistant here, one of my assistants, and I know she'll have her team ready. It's a chance for us to take our team and the kids that live in Dallas, they have a chance to go back home. But more importantly, we're trying to do a little bit of community service, give back to their community, and play in a venue that we hope will gain some interest in the Metroplex. And then we take off to Florida for Thanksgiving in a 3-game tournament that I think will be very, very challenging for our team. So I think having to go on the road and get some good experiences will be good for us as we get into December and we have those 2 huge games, I think, in the non-conference action that will really test our team.
Because of the potential for growth for this team and expecting them to get better as the season goes on, as you would with every team, and the youth and all that, and all these road games and tournaments and marquee non-conference games, is this one where you let your team know you're going to take some bumps and bruises early on? Don't expect to have an undefeated run through non-conference. This is all part of the process. This is all part of the plan this year.
I think process is a very, very important word to use for this entire team, because I mean, some of them are in new roles or accelerated roles due to some injuries and just stepping into a new light. Some are in the same roles, but maybe feel a different sense of responsibility. Leadership is different. So, I mean, I don't ever want to go into a season and say, hey, you shouldn't expect to go undefeated, or, maybe prepared to take your lumps. But I also think that we are a work in progress. We had a scrimmage last weekend. I wasn't very pleased with it. I don't think any of the players probably were too. I know our entire coaching staff was not pleased, but the reality of it is we are a work in progress. We're putting some players out there that they're not experienced. We're just not necessarily where we should be or where I want us to be, but there's lots and lots of time. And I think that the challenges ahead, they're always really good when you put yourself in a position from a scheduling standpoint where you're seeing a lot of different styles. I mean, we could go to Florida and see 3 dramatically different styles, starting with Quinnipiac. I just think that that's good for our team, because the Big 12 is so different. You might play in Iowa State one night, and then you play Baylor the next night, or West Virginia, and it's going to look dramatically different. And you better understand the differences in how to prepare for those teams. So I love what we're going to go up against in non-conference play. I mean, we play a Final Four team here in the Erwin Center on December 2nd in Mississippi State, And then 1 week later, we turn around and play Tennessee here in the Irwin Center, 2 marquee games that I think we will be prepared for when we get through November. I think this is much needed the way we've laid our schedule out, because there are some games that hopefully we can get those young kids some experience, get some confidence, but there are some that we better lace our shoes up and really get after it.
I'm sure the Texas tip-off is a little more open, lots of threes made. How much of seeing what we saw from Danny and Chastity that night, how much of that will we see in the regular season?
Well, I definitely think that we have the capabilities of shooting the three better. Again, we've got there's a learning curve. Familiarity. I mean, Danny, as much as I think she's going to add to our team, she's still a new player in our system, and she's still a new player. And even when we get into league play, it'll all be new to her. Every day is new to Danny, just like it's new to our freshmen. So, the patience level has to be there with her. If she stood out there and with no one guarding her, she would make 9 out of 10 most times, but I think everybody in the country knows who Danny is. There's a lot of film on her. So even though she's a newcomer to Texas, people know she can shoot the ball. So her being able to do some different things than maybe she's done in the past, I think is very important for her to embrace. Same thing as Chastity. I mean, she definitely can shoot, but we're still trying to find not only who is our starting point guard, which we think we're pretty solid with that in Shook Sutton, but also who's going to play backup. And, playing the point guard position isn't just about one thing. It's about a whole lot of things. So we're sort of trying to find some common ground with that position also.
I know Shook's going to be one of the leaders on this team, obviously. How difficult is the transition when you lose 2 players like Brooke and Ariel that were such a key part of your program for so long? And I know you're always developing in the future, but how difficult is it when you lose 2 players like that to find your next set of leaders and develop them too?
Yeah, I mean, obviously those guys were great players and they were tremendous leaders, but I would say that their leadership was more the way that they played as far as work ethic. It wasn't so much, Ariel obviously had a really strong voice, but Brooke was always about doing it. And doing it every day in practice, getting in the gym, getting in extra shots. That's what those guys were all about, was being prepared. So when you talk about filling their shoes and leadership, to me, it's more what the coaches are searching for are the players that are going to put in the type of work that those guys put in. And I would even put Adrienne Goudreau in that category. She was one of our hardest workers. And so when you talk about the loss of those 3 players in particular, they're 3 of your players with the best work ethic on your team. So I think the struggle has been for our players to understand what shoes are they filling in the manner of how those guys played. And we haven't necessarily found the answer to that yet.
If you have LaShawn starting and you have Sugar starting, what is Danny's role? Is she going to start, or is she going to be your instant offense off the bench, or how do you envision what she's going to be doing?
I would say we don't have a starting lineup right now. It would be, we just got out of a staff meeting where we don't, that's the good part and the bad part. Last year it was nice that we had 5 players that were pretty consistent, obviously until Joyner came back, and then we had to put the pieces of the puzzle a little differently together. But it was nice that we had some consistency with work ethic, starters, what you expected from them every day as far as the work. I can't get past the work right now, because that's the stuff that's got to be replaced. The attitude, the work ethic, the level of play every day on the practice court. So starters to me are people that they show up, and when the ball is tipped, you know what you're going to get from a work perspective and a preparation perspective. And I'm not sure that's something that could change. It might not be the same every day. It might not be the same every week, because they're still searching for that, and we're still searching for that.
How disappointed is a coach that they didn't latch on to some of that from last year's group to this year? For them not to...
I don't think they necessarily didn't latch on. We have a lot of new players. You know, and so you're talking about, I mean, I'm just using Destiny Littleton as an example because I think her progress is pretty remarkable right now from where she was last year, and I know she dealt with an injury last year, but just the understanding of the work. So you're talking about a Destiny Littleton that I think does understand the work, but is still inexperienced. So it's not that I'm not saying they haven't latched on to what is expected, but they're trying to find themselves, you know, and that's going to take some time.
You've mentioned Destiny's progress from last season. In what ways have you seen her change, and in what ways has her game evolved from last year?
Well, she's in shape. I would have to put that at the top of the list. The kid got really, really serious about her conditioning and getting herself into a better physical frame of mind, which helped her mental state. She's always had the IQ. I was pretty impressed when she showed up on the 40 acres that she had a high IQ. And, you know, then you have to start to try to match speed of the game, all of those things that happen at the college level with the ability to understand the game. So she's starting to be able to put all those pieces together. And she's a work in progress right now, but I think the interesting thing and rewarding thing from a coach's standpoint is that she's embraced it. She's embraced the process that it takes to be a good player. She's embraced Texas. You know, this was a California kid that didn't really know even anything about Texas. And, you know, she's kind of trying to make the most of being here, and I appreciate that.
You had that close scrimmage. You said you weren't too happy. What are you hoping for with WT coming up on Sunday?
Yeah, just a little more efficiency. Effort sometimes can get misconstrued if it's just we're running around like chickens. So I think that we need to try to be efficient with our effort. And again, new players and new roles, sometimes you know, they can almost try too hard. So I would like for us to relax a little bit and play a little bit smoother. Reverse the ball a little bit, try not to be in too big of a hurry, and probably more than anything, it's a team sport. And I think sometimes when you're anxious to do well and you want to do really, really good, and you want to please your coach, and you want to be a good teammate, then it sometimes can come across as I'm trying to do it all. And that's where this team is going to have to grow. They're going to have to all embrace that it's a team sport, and you know, you don't have to do it all. Next person doesn't have to do it all. Just help each other, be a great team, and good things will happen. And that's one thing that's always been a trademark, I think, of us here at Texas, is that we have shared the ball. And we have really been a pretty good team. And I don't want to get away from that.
What are the pros and cons, the good and the bad, of a close scrimmage like what you had versus an open scrimmage like what's coming up?
Well, the close scrimmages are against typically a team that is in a Power 5 or you know, they're from a talent perspective, maybe they're at an extremely high level, and so they can expose you pretty quick, or they can it's like a pop quiz. You know, you don't do a lot of scouting. You kind of try to see, okay, where are we at right now? And you get some answers that you're able to go back and work on before you actually get under the lights. You know, so the improvement from there to Sunday is, you know, we've got some things we've got to really focus on. This is what we need to do to be better. We're not very good defensively right now at all. So that, I mean, if anybody knows me, they would know that I'm probably taking deep breaths right now, because I would like for us to be better defensively than we were last year, for sure. And we've got to grab onto that mindset and that concept. I think stops create offense for you. So I think that we've got to improve in that area, and we've got to see some improvement on Sunday, but then we're getting ready for November 8th. Sunday is a chance to get the young players to me under the lights. although the tip-off they were able to do that, but it's not the same thing. We'll have the uniforms on. And we're playing against an organized team that has tradition. I mean, West Texas A&M definitely has they have tradition behind them, and they have a purpose. You know, they're coming up here to try to establish something also. I mean, they're serious about what they're doing. They run some really good stuff offensively that will challenge us defensively. So they run a zone. So those will be some things that I think that will be good for us to see on Sunday.
When you sat down in March and the season ended, I'm sure you had a vision for what you wanted this team to look like. How much was thrown when Sedona went down and Joyner did? Like how much does that change what your vision was, and how much do you have to adjust when those things happen, especially when it's two things?
Well, I think that it was different emotions with each loss. The most encouraging thing that I wake up every day thinking is that the potential for both of them to come back is very high. So that's where we just have to stay the course. But I mean, to answer your question, I did think that we were going to be able to do some things defensively that maybe we haven't been able to do in the past because we would have had so much length across the front court. I mean, Joyner was a disappointing not only for our team and for our coaching staff, but for her, because she had worked all summer and was very motivated to come back and have a full year. So, that took a little bit of time, and it probably affected our older players more than the young ones, because the older players understand, they've been with her, they've lived this with her. So I think that was something that, it's hard to get past for a minute, but you have to move on. I mean, it's life, and we need to move on, and we'll probably reinvent ourselves 2 or 3 times this year if those two come back.
Is there any more word on when Joyner might come back? And 2, what factors would have to happen for Sedona to actually play this year?
Well, they're both at their doctor's appointments today, so I can't answer that. We did that on purpose, so I wouldn't have to answer your question.
Very intelligent.
I don't know.
What does this team have to do to get better defensively? You said you guys are really weak right now. What do you have to do to see that improvement?
And we have to get more discipline. We have to, there's some differences in your mindset when you're pressing than when you're in a situation where you're in half-court man. And right now we're having trouble differentiating maybe when we get into the half court, staying disciplined, staying connected with each other. So I think I would start with just the fact that we need to get a little more committed to being disciplined.
Do you think that might be the kryptonite of this team?
It will be a separating factor, there's no question. Because I do think that once they get some cohesiveness offensively and settle in to roles and those types of things, I do think we can shoot the ball better. I mean, what you saw, those guys can shoot. I mean, I was joking about that it's a little different when someone's guarding them, but they can shoot. So I think that they'll settle in offensively, but I do think that it will be a separating factor, because it was something that when I look back in March, I definitely did not think we were as good of a defensive team as we needed to be.
You've had 2 different national champions the last 2 years. Is that good for women's basketball to, a different team is going to win it? Notre Dame's going to win it, and so forth.
I think that what was great for women's basketball was the fact that the people came to the games in the first place in droves. The 2 years ago in Dallas, I mean, the Big 12, the city of Dallas did a phenomenal job hosting the Final Four, which is why I think they're getting regional bids and Final Four bids now, because it was just a spectacular event. No one knew what was going to transpire from that Final Four, but it bled into the following year, and then last year was off the charts as far as the drama that happened at the Final Four. And I mean, you know, you've got bands reenacting the shot. You have, you know, people dancing with the stars and everything else that came out of last year's Final Four, but that's pretty cool that people were really paying attention. I'm not so sure the women's Final Four was not paid attention to more than the men's, and I'm not speaking out of turn, I don't think. I think that it was the buzz. It was for sure it was the buzz.
We had better games. Yeah.
So, you know, I'm sure that it'll sell out this year in Tampa. It's a nice place to go, that's for sure. So I bet you that trend continues, because, and I really do think that the bar was set in Dallas. That was a really well done job, and then the teams did their job.
On the topic of the Final Four, and it sounds like you would like to check out the sites in Tampa this year.
No, I'm actually hoping that I don't get to be honest with you. Because I have to go every year. I mean, it's a requirement for coaches. Head coaches have meetings that they have to go to and all of that. The best thing, not the best thing, forget that. A very good thing about going to the Final Four, if you make it, is that you don't have to go to all of that. Therefore, you don't enjoy all the treats that happen outside of the games. It's pretty fun, though.
When it was in Dallas, you had that logo posted on the wall in the practice facility. I know last year that was a big target. Is the Final Four something you're talking about your team right now, or because you're expecting so much growth, you're just worried about getting through today and then tomorrow, and if that bridge comes, then you'll start talking about it. But right now, you're just saying, let's get better today. How are you approaching this year?
I think we do have to stay in the moment. I really do. I think it would be a little overwhelming for this bunch right now with what they've already had to deal with, to start to have conversations about Tampa. Now, I have told them where it's at, and we've talked about the rounds of 16 and why you host and all of that, because I learned my lesson that they don't really know. You'd be surprised. You get a group of players in there and you have a conversation about, you'd be surprised at what they don't necessarily know. So we obviously had conversations about the Big 12 championship. We had conversations about hosting the first round, where the regionals are, and where the Final Four is. But we definitely need to stay in the West Texas A&M moment right now.
Is there any way a kid from New Mexico can in any way understand what transferring from A&M to Texas, like what the way that's perceived in both College Station and Austin?
No. If anybody heard his question, it's about, can a kid from New Mexico understand the A&M Texas rivalry, and the answer is no. She didn't have a clue. She did not. I think she's got a better grasp of it now after last week. She might have a better grasp, since I think she was on the cover of the Fort Worth Star-Telegram or something. I think she has a little bit better grasp, but she also doesn't take herself too seriously. She is a wonderful young lady that, regardless of what she does for our team this year, I think we're extremely blessed to have Danny, because her attitude and how she approaches life is good, and it's contagious. And I think once she gets her feet on the ground here and gets comfortable in the games and figuring out whatever it is that her role is going to be, I think everybody will really enjoy her. Our team enjoys her.
Out of the returning players, who else has kind of hurt your eyes this preseason so far? Who have you seen that's made the most strides over the offseason?
I don't want to discount Chastity's improvement also. The two sophomores are much improved, and their issue now will be because they need to play. They need to get as much playing time as they possibly can to learn to overcome the mistakes that you don't necessarily learn in practice. So I definitely think that what they came here to do, they can do, which is shoot the three. She's improved a lot. The guys that have really jumped out at me have been the freshmen. I have been as impressed, without putting any kind of pressure on them because they're not really necessarily ready for that, but I have been as impressed with our freshman class as any that we've had since we've been here, just at how they handle their business and how they approach the classroom, how they've approached practice. They're learning. It's all new to them, but they're special. And I do believe that they'll have special careers here. Audrey Warren is not a name that anybody's asked me about. I mean, no one's asked me about Audrey, but you're going to know who she is on Sunday and as we move along. Because she does a lot of intangibles that you can't teach. And as a freshman, that's pretty special. And, you know, Joe couldn't ask for a kid to step in here and just hit the ground running, and she doesn't ask why. Just, what do you need me to do? And I'll try to do it the best I can, and I'm going to screw most of it up. But then I'm going to come back tomorrow and I'm going to try to do what you asked me to do again. And that's about all you can ask for a freshman. And Charlie Collier, I mean, again, Sedona is, we all understand her situation. Charlie Collier has really, really made some significant strides in a couple of weeks. Obviously, she's been here this summer. She's in good shape. They came in ready, and that makes the world of difference when you come in physically ready. So then you can start to work on the skills and the mental side and all of that. But I think Charlie's, she's going to be an impact player for us. There's no question.
Having as many newcomers as y'all do, how often do you usually think that mental side of that approach takes to kind of settle in?
All year. The reason that it takes all year is because the different segments. For a freshman, it's like, okay, they got through off season and now we're practicing and we're in kind of the dog days right now until we start playing November 8th. And then you get to November 8th and they're all excited and we go into non-conference games, and then you get that little Christmas break and you think you have it all figured out, and then conference play starts. That's a completely different animal of preparation. And then you get through conference play and you take a deep breath and you're like, oh, okay, I'm good, and then we start postseason. And so every day is a new day to them. They never walk in the door and know what to expect. Never. So therefore, that's why the sophomores are so much better, because they walk in the door and they're like, okay, I know what's going to happen today. That's just life of a freshman, but that's why I'm so impressed with them, because they just churn it out. They just keep moving. It's really good.
Can you tell the difference?
Last one.
Can you tell the difference in someone, a freshman like Charlie, that's really highly touted and comes in at that front versus other freshmen? Can you see a difference in attitude or thoughts of who I'm going to be or any of that stuff?
Well, I definitely think that when you're highly touted, you have a confidence about you. And Charlie's pretty confident. I think it was just a matter of realizing early in practice that, you know, I need to keep my confidence, but I don't know everything. And I think once she started to reach out to Tiff, who I want to welcome to the 40 Acres officially, if you guys haven't talked to her. Once she started to, you know, embrace the fact that, you know what, I don't really know everything right now, and the quicker I try to learn what's expected, the better I'm going to get. And she's grabbed onto that. And I think that's why she's improved so much. And again, I complimented Audrey for the same reason. Audrey wants to know what to do and when to do it, and they move along. You know, they just, every day gets a little bit better for them because they're coachable, they work hard, and, you know, they're pretty confident kids.